So I got some Google Trends data here from Apple from 2019. And so basically what I did is I looked at the states that are more likely to look up Apple and less likely to look up Apple. I divided them up 25-25. I colored in the blue ones, colored up the 25 states more likely to look up Apple in blue, 25 states less likely to look up Apple in red. You'll notice it kind of looks like an election map, you know, like a political map. Then I did the same thing with Walmart. Walmart being red at the states less likely to look up Walmart being in blue. Then I do the same thing with Salesforce, which is a kind of obscure tech company. And it's a bit weird. I colored in the states more likely to look up Salesforce in blue. And you can see it kind of gets the coasts, you know. A couple states in the middle. Here is McDonald's. States more likely to look up McDonald's in red. Very big bulge in the center of the country. Then I put the states more likely to look up Oracle in blue. Again, it looks kind of like Salesforce because it's an obscure tech company. You know, coasts are blue. A couple countries in the middle are also blue. And that was Oracle, yeah, that was Oracle back there. It looked kind of like Salesforce. Here is Coca-Cola, very solid red here. Then kind of blue and so on. The East Coast, very solid blue. West Coast, very solid blue. Kind of the West, a bit more blue. And basically, if you put all of these on top of each other, you will see that it looks a lot like a political map. I mean, all of these look a bit like a political map, kind of. This gets a couple things wrong. Like, it says that these 3 states should be swing states. Even though they shouldn't. Same with like Delaware. But the thing is, like, they all have small populations, thus Google Trends will naturally get some stuff wrong, so low sample size. It gets a couple countries in this region wrong. Like, I think Utah should be blue, and it thinks like Nevada and New Mexico should be red. It thinks Nebraska should be blue, so I mean, that's kind of weird. Texas thinking it should be blue, that might happen in the future. We'll just have to see. Georgia. Like, here's the reason I think this is very interesting is because it predicts Georgia and Arizona being blue, and it predicts Ohio and Florida being red. And like, I don't know and it's based on 2019 data, right? Like, all of this data is just for year 2019. So in 2019, in theory, just using data from Google Trends and those 6 companies, you like, in theory, could have predicted that Ohio and Florida would go red, but that like Georgia and Arizona wouldn't. What the heck is going on? When I click back on here, it sends me to the bottom. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. But yeah. There's some states that are just literally always blue, like the East Coast, the West Coast, Colorado. Some states are always red, like the Deep South. And basically there are 10 states that are always blue and 8 states that are always red. And if you look at the 10 states with the highest life expectancy, 7 of them, or like there's an overlap of 7 of these 10 and 7 of these 10, which is like very statistically significant. If you look at the 8 states with the lowest life expectancy, there's an extremely high overlap between these 8 and these 8. But yeah, that's very interesting. It's like Colorado, Washington, California, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts are in the top 10 for life expectancy. They're also literally always blue here. Then Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, West Virginia, they're like always red as far as these companies. And then they have the lowest life expectancy. So basically we can see that, like, basically I think the way these maps look, ultimately, like, where people, like, Google Trends data, that ultimately kind of represents, like, a cultural divide. It's a cultural divide that, like, in theory, shouldn't be political. But ultimately, the regional and cultural divides do become political. Because it's, like, more convenient for parties to use culture instead of actually talk about policy. Because it's, like, easier to unify your base around culture than unify your base around policy. But basically, what you can tell here, kind of, is that, like, the very, like, liberal culture is, like, clearly kind of superior to the very conservative culture. And partially that's just because, you know, tech companies are the ones that are highly in blue, whereas it's, like, companies that make you fat that are highly in red, you know. Maybe if I used other companies, maybe it'll be different. But, yeah, I think that's extremely interesting. They're just using 2019 data. You could have predicted these 2 being red, these 2 being blue. So, yeah. It also expects, like, Texas to be blue. So that's kind of interesting. And I'm from Wisconsin, a purple state, of course. Very, very purple. Went extremely narrowly for Al Gore. Extremely narrowly for John Kerry. Extremely narrowly for Trump. And then extremely narrowly for Joe Biden. Like, it's crazy how purple we are, you know? Of course, we're purple on this as well. So, yeah, I think that's kind of interesting.